Hmm. All right, y'all. Greetings, 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 greetings. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of Brown Girls Are Beautiful. Okay, let me get that banner off of here. Let me get that banner off. Hold on one second, y'all. Let me hide that. Okay, there we go. There we go. All right, so welcome to another episode of Brown Girls Are Beautiful. I'm your hostess and your melanated queen. I had to start another stream here because we were talking about the Breakfast Club's interview with Dame Dash and his mentor. And the whole premise of the video was basically the fact that Charlie Kirk, he missed a lot of things in his campaign speeches that he did not talk about from a different vantage point. He was very skewed in his opinions, the way he manipulated and swayed the narrative. So earlier, we were actually playing a video with a lady that said she was born into a hate group. So I'm going to actually go back and I am actually going to review her video once more. I'm going to review the video once more because I think it's important to share that perspective for people that may not be accustomed to hearing some of these things. So I'm going to go ahead and share this for a second. So just a moment. All right. So this lady says that she was born into a hate group, you all. And let's go ahead and play the video.
Every one of my aunts and uncles and my cousins and my mom and my grandparents and everybody, this was their absolute reality too. Okay, so here's what I believed about race. You have to go way back to the past life, which Mormons call the pre-existence. If you just Google Mormon pre-existence, and you can read all about that. I believed that I was literally birthed by one of the heavenly mothers and Heavenly Father, Elohim God, and that we lived in a life before we gained earth bodies where we could make choices and we had our personalities and our passions. Like the person that I am today, that's who I was in this past life. And all of God's spirit children were being born into this past life until he had amassed, billions and billions of people. And at that point, God, who was white, the heavenly mothers who were white, they called together all of his spirit children in what's called the council in heaven. And in this council in heaven, God told us that he wanted us to become a God like himself. And in order to do so, we'd have to come to earth, gain physical bodies. And if we passed the test, that we could come back to him and be gods and goddesses just like him and his heavenly wives. So God presents this plan for us to become like him. And his two sons volunteered to play a really pivotal role of savior. God wanted us to have free choice, and to do so, he'd have to have a sacrifice in the form of one of his children giving up their lives and also being that exemplar for everybody. So Jesus came forward, and Lucifer, who would later become Satan, and they had opposing views. All of us spirit children chose sides. 2/3 of us went with Jesus, and 1/3 of God's children went with Satan. Well, they lost the war, so they were cast out. They never see bodies. They can never become gods. And they are now these satanic forces that rule over the world, led by Satan. But of those 2/3, there were part of them that were kind of apathetic, kind of fence sitters was a word that one of the Mormon prophets used to describe them. And another phrase that the Mormon prophets used to describe these people who, like, they got to stay in heaven, they got to come down to earth, and they hadn't quite followed Satan, but they weren't the best spirit children of God. The phrase that the Mormon prophets used for them is less valiant. They were less valiant in their past life. And so what happened to those people, according to what my church taught me, was they were cursed to be born to African families. And here's why being born to African families was such a curse.
All right. So basically, they're trying to say that if you were born into African descent, then that meant that you basically did something wrong and it was a curse or an abomination. All right. So let's make no mistake about it. This is what people truly do believe. And these are practices that go on in these families. This is why whenever you try to share or tell your experience to these people, you're never going to get through to them. Okay. That's never going to happen because they are trained to think the way that they think. And so Charlie Kirk never spoke about this, right? He always wanted you to feel like, oh, if you share your experience, you're victim blame. Well, you're playing the victim, right? He always wants you to feel like you're playing a victim role. Even though you could have all the proof, you could have all of the evidence of what you've experienced, it doesn't matter to these people because what they believe is they have a lack of empathy, which is the same thing that Charlie Kirk believed in. Also, she goes on to say that these people had a lot of apathy. That means you really don't care about other people that are going through stuff. And she's going to say that in this video. So just a second.
Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve. Cain kills Abel. Cain is cursed with black skin. He's then removed from the Garden of Eden, which was in America, in Jackson County, Missouri. Adam on diamond is the biblical Adamic language word that I was taught as a child. And so Cain was cast down to Africa, given black skin. All of his descendants were those less valiant spirits. So not only were they physically cursed, but they just weren't the best spirits to begin with. Now, if you're listening to this and thinking this is crazy, it absolutely is. And I don't know how very many adults who hear this convert to the Mormon church. I think it's really a tricky thing to sell these days. But again, that childhood indoctrination, I was born and raised into a community that taught this. And I've said in other videos that just as I was learning how to walk and talk and like zip up my own coat in the kindergarten coat closet, I was being taught you lived in heaven, Heavenly Father, the war in heaven, they're cursed, they're sent down, black people, they come from Africa, they were bad spirits, and then Cain was bad here on earth. So those are not good people, nor are the indigenous people of the United States, because the Book of Mormon, there was a good brother, there were two bad brothers. The bad brothers were cursed with brown skin. That's why the Indians have brown skin, because these are cursed people. And it would have been as difficult for me to unlearn that concept as it would have been to forget how to.
Okay, so you're hearing it here for yourselves. This is a narrative that she was indoctrinated into as little as being a small child. You know, you said people constantly brush you off when you post your feelings on Instagram notes. Someone DMs me saying, boy, what the F is wrong with you? Let it go. This is why I keep stuff to myself a little more often. Fox Galaxy, I would definitely say be careful who you share any of your experiences with, any of your opinions with, any of what you go through, because people are definitely in this day and time, they definitely have a lack of empathy and they're very cruel. And this is all across the board. Well, what I'm specifically talking about is in the terms of the political arena with Charlie Kirk, because the Kirkster, definitely would always say that, people need to just get over it. He really did not understand some of the magnitude of what a lot of people had to go through. And this could have been due to his upbringing. So I'm just walking you down the psyche of how these people think. You said you don't even share it with your family. Sometimes you have to protect your energy by not sharing things with certain people. So if you have to protect yourself by not sharing it with your family, then don't share it with your family. It's not a safe space to share. It's not.
Zip my coat in the kindergarten closet. Every cell in my body had accepted it as truth because I was taught it in scriptures, and scriptures don't lie. That's the truth. That's the most true thing in the world. Our prophets are charismatic leaders.
Have you ever wanted to see your home from?
They're on commercial, so we're going to go ahead and skip past that. So again, like I said, unfortunately, this is what's going on out here. So a lot of people have been brought in this upbringing thinking that melanated people with darker skin, it is an abomination, it is a curse. Okay. So we got to actually explore this stuff so that people can understand where this comes from. All right. They've been taught this, and it trickles down from generation to generation to generation. So at some point, she ended up leaving her religious practices, because she goes on to say that even people disguised in church, they say that they're Christians and they believe in Jesus. These people also practice this type of behavior. So just educate yourself on this stuff, so that you understand that people out here are really, practicing this stuff, and it is very harmful. It is very dangerous. But luckily, she was brave enough to come on and share her experience.
Stood at the pulpits in our local congregations, and sometimes speaking the whole world, talking about these truths. My parents, my family, my home reinforced it. The artwork, books that we had, music that was written just for children reinforced this. The whole community at large reinforced this truth. For me to think anything otherwise would have been like learning to walk sideways instead of forward. No, my knees bend. I'm supposed to go forward. I can't walk sideways. Black people are cursed. Native Americans are cursed. And this right here is why I think that it's more dangerous than joining like a neo-Nazi group, because I never had critical thinking to begin with. I didn't come from just a normal life. My whole life was this. There are two other really important ideologies that are kind of foundational to my white supremacy. One of them was the battle of good and evil that was constantly going on. And that battle of good and evil made me look at people who were suffering as people who God was punishing. So let me give you an example of this. I know I've shared in another video that I was born in 1974. So I grew up with the Ethiopian famines. And I remember seeing them on the news.
All right. So she's around 50 to 51 years old. Okay. 50 to 51 years old, half of a century. Let's keep going, y'all.
And going to my grandma and saying, can we send some money? Like somebody had said, you can send money or something to help with food, put a check in the mail, do this. And my grandma saying, oh no, God has cursed them. We can't interfere with that. I viewed everything as a battle of good and evil. If you were being punished, then God was doing that to you, and it wasn't my place to interfere. And I would look around at all of the suffering in the world. So Africa and Mexico, some of the Middle Eastern countries and stuff that were less developed in the 70s and 80s. And to me, that was just further proof. Oh, yeah, God is really giving those people their consequences for being evil people, for not being Mormon, for not being righteous, and for choosing evil and idolatrous ways. And then look at me and look at my community. We're so happy. We're so blessed. We have so much money. Never once did I think that's privilege, or we have gotten here by stomping on everybody else.
Okay, let's stop right there, because I think she said enough. So I'm going to remove this for a second. Y'all, it is so important that we understand, okay, what this really means as a people. It is so important that we understand that people actually grew up believing this. People actually grew up with this indoctrination, y'all. So some of it is a lot of it is taught and learned, okay? A lot of this is taught and learned. They really believe this in the bottom of their hearts. They look at you and feel that you did something wrong, or either that your lineage is cursed, because she just said it out of her mouth. You have darker skin. You come from the descendants of Africa. You have Native American indigenous blood in you. We just heard her say this. So there's no way that people can come on a public platform and debunk this when she's saying that she grew up in this, y'all. This woman said she had to leave the MAGA hate group. She said, I was born into a hate group. And she has some other videos on there where she shares her stories. So you're not going to win if you're trying to prove your point. If you've been harassed, discriminated against, taunted, if you've been mistreated, they don't care. They don't want to hear about it, because they feel like they have, like I said, it's called a superiority complex. Really, it's inferiority, because if you have to go around and lie to other people about a group of other people, and tell these false narratives about them being cursed from descendants of Africa. They're cursed. That's not true. Y'all, we are all created by the creator, in some way, shape, or form. We're all made different and unique. And I want to say that, we are divine. You have divine DNA running through your bloodline. Don't ever make somebody think that you're inferior because they have been miseducated and indoctrinated. All right. So like I said, this comes from ignorance, y'all. And I commend this woman for coming on and sharing her story because, it takes a lot of courage to come on a public platform and talk about this. People don't have these conversations. These are very uncomfortable conversations to have, uncomfortable topics to speak about. But these narratives have to be spoken about. She actually shared this about a month ago. So this was before the whole Charlie Kirk situation. But this is why I'm saying, look into the Charlie Kirk psyche. I'm pretty sure he has people around him and he grew up around a lot of these antics. I'm pretty sure a lot of people that you work with, that you live around in your neighborhood, people that you think you're friends with, they have someone in their family that thinks just like this because this is passed down from generation to generation. If she is 50 years old, then that's about what, 2 to 3 generations, if not more. So that means her parents passed this down. Her grandparents probably passed it on to her parents. The great grandparents probably passed it on to the grandparents, and the great great grandparents passed it on to the great grandparents. So yes, she does, Fox. She has a lot of courage to share this narrative with people. Um, so, like I said, she had to come out of it. She had to reach a point at her own, to say, hey, this does not feel right. I have to get out of this. And I'm going to explore some more of her videos. I actually subscribe to her channel because I really want to hear, her perspective of how she grew up. I am almost certain that it's going to be very challenging to listen to some of the things, but I won't be too surprised because I already know the sense of superiority that they have. I work around them. I'm not going to say where, but I work around these people and I witness and experience and see this all the time, how they interact with others. And a lot of it is that they feel that they're superior because they've always been told that they are superior. Even if it's not true, this is what they truly believe in. So whenever they start taking up for one another, whether they're right or they're wrong, especially indigenous people and Native Americans and the African, people with African bloodlines, if you are in the right and they are in the wrong, and if it's a group of them and it's only one of you, they will still take up for that person that looks like them, even if they're in the wrong, because of the subconscious thoughts and feelings that they've grown up with to oppose you as a person. Basically, you're dehumanized. You're not seen as a person, right? They used to think that we were chattel, that we were like cattle. They used to sell us on the stock market, y'all. They used to sell our people on the stock market. This is where you get strip club culture from for a lot of people that like to go around and twerk. A lot of people don't think about that. You said sounds like the left to me. Well, I don't really care what it sounds like, no nonsense, if it's left or right. I'm just telling you the perspective of what this woman shared on her platform. So if you don't like it, too bad. This woman decided to share her experience. So you don't have to really be here to listen to what I'm talking about. You can actually leave. You might be the right, you might be the left. I really don't care what you are. What we're talking about is people sharing their real life experience. And this woman said that she was born into a hate group. Okay. So there's no way that I'm making this up. This woman is sharing her story. And she said this was from the time that she entered into school, from the time that she was able to zip up her jacket. No nonsense. I don't even want to hear what you got to say. You can leave because you're really trying to get, and like I said, hit dogs holler every time. Every time we're talking about something and we're having a conversation and I'm addressing, people, they always come over here because they can't survive without our attention, y'all. They can't survive without it. And well, Fox Galaxy, use your wrench. But yeah, they always come over here interjecting, superimposing their ideologies, their opinions, like we care. This is why I say to you all, you don't need to validate yourselves to anybody else, okay? You don't need to prove yourselves to these people because they have been misinformed and they have been indoctrinated for so many years. It is not even worth going back and forth. Like, don't come off your throne to throw tomatoes with a peasant. All right. Because then you're stooping down to their low level. And when you walk in your divinity, you already know how to recognize these creatures and these entities, right? They're walking around with human bodies, but they're not human beings. They're demons living in demonic energy. So, you know, make sure that you don't give them your attention. Make sure that you continue to focus on what your goals are. All right. We don't have time for this, y'all. And it is because of this type of rhetoric that allegedly Charlie Kirk was taken out. And this was by one of his own, allegedly. So really, like I said, there's misdirected anger being targeted at people that didn't even do anything to them. They're just evil and they're mad, and they've always been this way. They have to tell themselves lies in order to feel superior. That tells me that you have an inferiority complex to begin with, right? When you have to do stuff like that. Another thing that, Charlie Kirk failed to do, yeah, they are NPCs. If y'all can't handle the truth, get out the kitchen, right? You can't handle the heat, get out the kitchen. And as simple as that. But just because they can't handle it does not make it any less true. Just because they can't handle it does not make it any less real. And that's not our problem to worry about. This is a battle, an internal problem they're going to have to battle with amongst themselves. They're going to have to eternally fix this within themselves. And a lot of them refuse to do the work. They can't handle it. They're very triggered, y'all. And like I was showing you this clip on the Breakfast Club earlier, this man was talking about his wife. Charlie Kirk never, ever spoke on these stand-up melanated men. So for a second, let me actually give some credence to the melanated guys out here that are stand-up men, that are there for their families and that are there for their wives and that do stand up for the community, because people don't like to talk about it, right? And I think so many times we criticize one another because we know that melanated men can do better. We know that melanated females can do better. We know that as a whole, the melanated society and community can do better. But what about the people that are doing what they're supposed to do? So let's commend this guy right here. This is Dame Dash's mentor. Dame Dash's mentor, okay? All right, let's keep going, y'all, because these hit dogs are hollering. Make sure you use your wrenches if you have one. Don't give them any type of leniency, y'all. So this woman was not on the left, okay? I don't believe in the left, Dwight Parker. But since you want some attention, you know what? You are trash. And considering you are trash, we're going to go ahead and take you out to the dumpster, okay? So basically, they keep coming in the comment section talking about the left. I don't believe in left. I don't believe in right. I don't believe in Republican. I don't believe in Democrat. I've said this so many times, but because they have such idiotic thinking, these are the type of people that Charlie Kirk was talking about. They don't have the brain power nor the capacity to do logical thinking and discernment for themselves. They think that we all have to be placed in a box that someone else has orchestrated for us. But like I was saying, let's keep going down the line because this guy is a stand-up guy, and much credence to him. All right, yeah, look, tell him, Fox, stay in the dumpster, donkey. NPC, that's right. Shout out to you. All right, so let's go ahead and play.
I needed all that.
Absolutely.
I needed every second, every minute left. You know what I mean? To be with my wife, bro. Like nothing else is more important than time.
Right.
If we had $1 billion, you give up that $1 billion for some more time.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I needed to be with her, and I needed to let her know I'm right by your side.
Thank you. Okay. So like I said, there are a lot of times that the mainstream media likes to focus on negativity when it comes to melanated communities. Amanda Mahia Takara, that's probably not even your name. I don't believe in any blueberry Kool-Aid, you idiot. So get off here. Oh, matter of fact, let's put you on the screen since you want attention too. You know, they always need our attention. You know these idiots, they always come over here needing our attention. So let's go ahead. You want to be famous for a second. I'm gonna make you famous. Like Trey Songz said, I'm gonna make you famous. Okay. You feel good? You feel better about yourself? You feel better? Go ahead, Fox Galaxy, use your wrench. You know what to do. You know what to do. Hit dogs are hollering, y'all. Hit dogs are hollering. You laughing at yourself? You look real stupid, by the way. You laughing at yourself. Yeah, take the garbage out. Y'all know what to do. So let me keep going. Okay?
He was like, you know what, OG, you're right. Because you can't sit around talking about, yo, I had to come home for a minute, or you sitting in your bed eating TV dinners and shit like that.
Mhm.
Your fucking wife is in the hospital dying.
Respect.
You know what that shit must feel like?
Mhm.
You know you ain't gonna make it, shit like that. So yeah, that's what happened with homie. And I hope I got through to him and he spending time with her. He probably should be right next to her right now.
Yes. So regardless of what these idiots think, I respect, Dame Dash for sharing his mentor with the Breakfast Club, putting him on this public platform, letting it be seen and letting it be heard. And for those that are mad about it, too bad, so sad. You know what I mean? Too bad. You got an issue about it, go somewhere else. You say if you block those who you think are doing the left versus right thing, you may be jumping the shark a bit due to text versus speech. People are used to shortening thoughts. Sarge, you know what? You can take your opinion elsewhere. It's really not needed here. But since you want to be famous, get your 10 seconds of fame. Exactly 5 seconds, because that's all you're really worth. You can go as well. Okay. Go ahead and use your wrench. Okay. All right, y'all know what to do. Because we're talking about something far more important. And like we said, we're talking about life and death. This man lost his wife. He was there by her side. These people, these idiotic scavengers are coming into the comment section talking about left and right, Republican and Democrat. They don't even get it, y'all. This is how ignorant they are. They don't even understand the magnitude of the importance of what we're talking about because they're so stupid. I don't care if it was negative. You came over here being negative. As a matter of fact, you can go. I don't need you to be here because you're trying to be distracting. You know how like you're in school and the teacher's talking and there's always some idiot heckling and giggling and laughing? That's how they are. What am I talking about? If you sit here and shut up and be quiet, you'll find out. Okay? You can go too. Because the title is in the title section what this is about. If you don't understand English, maybe you need to get off the channel and go use Google Translate. All right. So anyway, y'all, let's keep going.
You know what I'm
Do you have
saying?
like an organization or something? Or?
He does have an
Black children.
organization.
Mhm.
Yeah, and we need you on the radio, OG. And I think y'all should get him up here once or twice a week because he would teach toughly. We need to be taught in a certain voice.
Because you
Not
let
like
OG
this.
in the conversation.
That's not a voice.
No,
So, and I want to point this out. People are going to get mad when I say this. Angry black woman stereotype by no dad. My daddy actually is involved in my life, okay? And my parents are still married. So there you go with your, hypocritical side notes. There you go with your stereotypes. And unfortunately, you sound dumb, ignorant, and stupid, okay? Because you don't know what you're talking about. You said holding a leftist accountable is like throwing holy water on a demon. I'm not a leftist, dummy. Okay. So you can go as well. Why are y'all so mad when we start talking about something of, positivity up here? Y'all get so upset. Like y'all are so bothered and triggered. It's like you need Brown Girls Are Beautiful's energy. You need melanated people to survive. Why don't y'all go learn how to survive on your own? Why don't you do that? Yeah, and as a matter of fact, if you don't like it over here in America, why don't you go back to Europe where you come from? Why don't you go back to the Netherlands? Why don't you go back to Iceland? And why don't you go back to Finland and Scandinavia and all these places where you come? We didn't ask you to come over here. Y'all the ones that lied and said that you went with Christopher Columbus and came over here and discovered America. Y'all came over here bothering us. Why don't you go back to where you belong? Why don't you do that? Okay? Because my people, all of us didn't come from Africa, dummies. A lot of us were already Native Americans in this land, indigenous people. Y'all are so miseducated and indoctrinated that you wouldn't realize the truth if it hit you in the head. That's how stupid you are. So you said they couldn't build a ship to leave Africa. They built nothing in Africa. Why don't you go to Africa and find out what they built, dummy? Why don't you go over there and find out? Okay? Why don't you find out? Y'all so mad. Y'all are so mad. Like, what is wrong with y'all? They're mentally ill. Like every time we have a conversation, here they come, y'all. They're mad. But like we said, we're not going to take away from Dame Dash and this guy right here that we're talking about, who deserves much credence and the utmost respect. Keep going.
Why want to hear that bullshit you talking after hearing OG talk? That fake dumb.
All right, let's keep
I
going.
mean, you would never be able to tell because it's what's inside.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I just want to shout out my man, Larry. Wish him all the best. And I hope he's by his wife's side. And anybody that's going through that type of shit, just honor up and be a man and respect love. Because love is what we all need. That's the only thing that's going to be by us when we fucked up and we down and out.
Yeah.
Y'all should all know if you got a girl, you got, you know what I mean, a situation, relationship. You know, that's what it's about. That's who you care about. My mother passed. She became my mother.
Yeah. So he's been through some things, y'all. All right, let's keep going because he's going to keep talking.
Care about. My mother passed. She became my mother. You know, at the funeral, I told a story how I had a fight, right? And I broke my hands.
Yeah, I hear that. He had a fight and broke his hands. And see, this is another thing that they're very triggered about, because the prowess, the physical prowess of melanated men, the way that they're physically built, it's just something that is so dynamic about their power and their strength that they are intimidated and they feel inferior when they when you compare the two. So he broke his fingers, he broke his hand or whatever. He had a fight. He was being a protector. And a lot of them can't handle the fact that they don't match up physically with the melanated male, prowess. They just don't physically. They don't match up. They never will. It is something that they innately have, that they were, built with in divinity and the image of their creator. The divine creator just designed them how they did. And that's just what it is. They dominate in sports. They dominate in gymnastics. Look at Simone Biles, look at Dominique Dawes, look at all the people from Kenya when they, run these races and stuff. They can run, they can jump. They're just physically superior. And this is why melanated people have what's called dominant DNA, and they have what's called recessive DNA. So if you don't know, go study biology. Stop trying to tell lies to yourselves. We just had the white lady up here, this Caucasian lady, talking about how she was born into a family of hate and she had to come up out of it. She was no longer with MAGA. And, they're just mad and they're triggered about it. Keep going. Let's listen. And all of your comments, if they're ignorant and stupid, they're going to get blocked, deleted, and ignored. You're going to be put off the platform. So I don't even know why y'all are over here, other than the fact that you need our energy, because you can't survive without us. And that's why they're selling melanin. Y'all, they're out here selling melanin so they can survive. We go out in the sunlight, and what do? We absorb the sunlight. We get vitamin D from the sunlight. It nourishes us. It replenishes us. We are solar beings. Our hair stands up to the sun. What do? Burn. They get crispy and burn. They start chiseling and they start turning red and skin peeling, looking all scaly, flaking up and stuff, roasting, looking like a rotisserie up in the oven. They got to get out the sun, y'all.
I go to the hospital, broke my knuckles and shit. They cast me up. So long story short, I go home.
What that nigga do?
Right? Nah, it didn't even matter. You know, I just put in the work and I broke my finger.
He put that work in. Some of them can't put that work in like that. That's why they in the comment section of a female, brown girls are beautiful. If it's not talking about you, then why are you over here? You know, he's putting that work in, y'all.
My hands right, but busted. So this how deep it was with me and my wife. I goes home and I realized I had to take a shit. I could.
Oh, some of y'all offended because he said the S word. Get off the platform, y'all. He said the S word. What you gonna do? Go home and cry? You gonna tell the principal? Ooh, teacher, he said the S word, because you know that's what a lot of them like to do. They like to go and tattletale a lot, y'all. I remember at my high school graduation, that's what they were doing, tattletaling, like the tattletellers they are. Go tell your savior. Go tell your savior that he said the S word. What? Oh, that's an abomination. He's using curse words. Go tell Jesus. Go tell Jesus that you believe in, and go tell him that this melanated black male cursed on the Breakfast Club. Go tell. That's what y'all are good at. I'm gonna tell. I'm gonna report you.
Couldn't wipe my ass. Do you know my wife wiped my ass, bro?
Wow.
My wife had to wipe me, bro.
Yeah.
So you know how deep that is? Who else could you trust? You don't want your brother. You can't ask your homies or nobody do no shit like that.
Yeah.
And I wore the cast for like 4-5 months. Every time I had to go to the bathroom, get up.
All right, y'all. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing the screen. But yeah, that is right there. The melanated male upholding his melanated female. They get very triggered when we talk about topics like this. They can't stand for us to come together in unity and uphold one another. Fox, use your wrench. They get so mad when we talk about stuff like this. I don't care if your mother is black. I'm not talking to you. I'm not even going to read your comments right now. They get so mad and triggered, y'all, when we uphold one another. When you say something positive about one another, when you come together in unity and harmony with each other, they get so mad and triggered. They can't stand it. Just like when they had the Tulsa, Oklahoma bombings, because melanated people were thriving economically. They couldn't stand it. What did they have to do? Oh, they had to come and obliterate it. Every time we try to get away from these, scavengers and these savages, here they come interjecting, like I say on all my videos that I've been talking about. They come superimposing their thoughts and opinions, coming over here, want to be seen, want to be acknowledged, want to be heard, looking stupid and feeling dumb. You said go back to Africa. I didn't come from Africa. Why don't you go back to Europe? I was already here, born on this land, Native American. My great grandmother was Native American. So you're stupid. And you said Africa is the center of civilization. That is very true. I took a linguistics class and they talked about this. The first sign of human beings were found in Africa. So if you don't like me, you don't like yourself, dummy, because all human beings come from some form of African descent with your stupid, retarded self. They don't even know what they're talking about. Y'all get so mad and triggered. White Europeans were raping and pillaging. Thank you for pointing that out. That's all they do. That's all they do is go and steal, see how they can go bomb up another country. Oh, let's set a nuclear bomb off. They don't want to talk about the bombing of Hiroshima in Japan. They set off a nuclear bomb over there, killing all those millions of people. That's all they're good for, is scavenging and pillaging and just basically killing people. And y'all want to talk about gang violence? Let's talk about political warfare and how much that has killed. Let's talk about how much killing has been done in the name of religion, because these people think they're always right and they're not. Let's talk about that. And let's talk about why Donald Trump really act like he didn't really care too much about Charlie Kirk's death, because that's why Jimmy Kimmel got canceled. Why don't y'all go fight that battle? Why don't y'all go figure out why they're over there shooting up the ABC studios? And now y'all are triggered and mad and unsubscribing from, their apps and stuff. And I'm not going to support Disney anymore. Why don't y'all go fight the battles that pertain to y'all? Y'all are always over here wanting to be recognized. Y'all so mad and triggered. Like, I can't speak to my melanated females for a second. I can't talk to my melanated guys for a second. I can't talk to my people without y'all wanting to superimpose and super interject yourselves. Like, why are y'all so triggered and bothered? Go get a life and go back to where you come from. Nobody told y'all to come over here messing with us in the first place. Why do nobody told y'all to come? Oh, you don't like my glasses? Get off the channel, dummy. my glasses are cute. And even your white counterparts told me that they like my glasses when I went to the office. So if you don't like them, too bad, so sad. You think I care about your validation, you idiot? I don't care. That's the point. And I want y'all melanated females to get to that point, that you don't care about any of their opinions. You don't need their validation, because no matter what you do, you will always be wrong in their eyes. We just heard the Caucasian woman tell us this. They are indoctrinated to think this, and they grow up living like this, and they keep spreading their hate to everybody else. So it is not my fault that they're mad, they're angry, and they're triggered, and they're mad within themselves. They're unhappy with themselves. They are so mad that when we talk about empowerment amongst our people, that they have to get infuriated inside. Who is she to speak like this? Who is she to talk to her people? We must go over there and bombard her channel. Like, I freaking give a damn, because I really don't care. Like, y'all are not doing anything to anybody. Like, all you're doing is posting negativity. And guess what the creator said about that? Oh, the Jesus that y'all believe in, you believe in loving thy neighbor and loving thy brother, that y'all don't practice. The Bible that y'all don't practice, that you tried to superimpose on our people, and then stole 26 chapters out of the Bible so you could try to have our people under oppression and suppression, because you wanted to have power, rule, and control. So you got to use all these tricks and narratives to miseducate and indoctrinate our people of this land and everybody else, all up in the school system, all up in the textbooks, all up in the videos, listening to Charlie Kirk speeches, and then only listening to the parts of the speeches that fits your narrative. But when he actually went up against a professor, he didn't win the argument. When he went up against one of the melanated females that was actually a college student, he didn't win that argument either. And then they don't point out the fact that he actually what do you call it when you what's the word I'm looking for? He edited some of his videos, y'all. So we cannot listen to these people to tell us who we are. Okay, I want y'all to stand firm in your power, stand firm in who's true to you, your divinity, your lineage, your ancestors, right? Because that's who we owe our faith and our due diligence to, our ancestors, our lineage, not some white Jesus that they shove down our throats, not what they want us to believe in when it comes to Christianity. We don't have to follow their religion. We didn't go over there trying to make them believe in what we believe in. They came over here telling us that we need to believe in what they believe in. They did that in Egypt as well. They did it in parts of Africa. That's why you have a lot of parts of Africa that are indoctrinated with Christianity as well. They are miseducating the entire globe. This is how deep it goes, y'all. They miseducate on purpose. Please read The Miseducation of the Negro. Please read Stolen Legacy, because a lot of these things, they're not going to teach you in the school systems. They're not going to teach you in the textbooks. They're not going to do it. They're not going to do it, y'all. They are so mad and triggered, and I don't care. That's why my comment section is jumping off like crazy. Fox, use that wrench like crazy. Yes. You said, wow, live in the past. Doesn't the past affect the future? Aren't y'all living in the past when you keep talking about Charlie Kirk? Aren't y'all living in the past? Why don't y'all let that man rest in peace? Y'all the ones living in the past. That happened during what, Labor Day week or whatever? 9/10, right before 9/11, which I also feel like that was some type of conspiracy wrapped all together, because we do know your government that you believe in uses a lot of these atrocities to fit their political narratives. But because y'all too stupid to understand that, you're going to keep fighting amongst yourselves. Y'all want to talk about black on black crime? Let's talk about this white on white crime for a second. Let's talk about this political gang violence and this political warfare. Y'all, when y'all kill each other, y'all kill each other on a massive scale. Thousands upon thousands, hundreds of millions of people gotta die. Why? In the name of religion, because we're right. We dominate. We're white supremacy, and our way or no way. It's our way or the highway. Look at what happened in the Holocaust. You had a bunch of Jews that got put into gas chambers. Those are your people. We didn't do that to our people. So don't talk to me. Don't even sit up here and talk to me until y'all go figure out getting your own stuff cleaned up. Why don't y'all go back and look into your history and your lineage and what y'all come from? Savagery. Why you want to talk about we act like savages? No, this is not anger. This is passion. Maybe you don't know the difference between the two. Didn't Charlie Kirk have a lot of passion? So it was okay for him to have it. It was okay for him to speak about other cultures, other nationalities that he really didn't have education to speak upon, nor life experience enough to understand the way this world works. He didn't live through a lot of the stuff that he spoke about, but he spoke from a perspective of privilege, thinking he was so knowledgeable. When a lot of his debates, he would cut the other person off, interject like y'all always do, and try to supersede his viewpoints on the opponent. That's all he ever did. I don't call that winning. I don't call that winning when you have to shove your narrative down someone's throat. Let's talk about why Jimmy Kimmel was taken off the air. Because your president, the Trumpster, okay, didn't like the comments that Jimmy Kimmel made about the Kirkster. And really, it was his lack of empathy, right, that he had about the Kirkster. But I thought the Kirkster said that he didn't believe in empathy. So why are y'all so triggered? And why are y'all so mad right now? Because you want somebody to follow along and fit your narrative. Now, when he takes away your right to free speech, now it's a problem. So y'all are basically a walking hypocrisy of one another. Y'all really need to go fix yourselves before you try to come to Brown Girls Are Beautiful while I am addressing my people and superimpose your ideas, your ideologies, and your thoughts. We've had enough of your miseducation and indoctrination. Okay? You got to be a real savage to be a real tyrant to come to somebody else's country and have them walking through the trail of tears, right? Faking and pretending like you are a Native American because you have a 5% drop of Native American blood, and then you want to reap the benefits of Native Americans. You got to be a real savage to do some of the things that they did to the Native American indigenous people and people of African descent. Only people of savagery and people of that type of tyrant behavior could do some things like that, because that is not intrinsically how melanated people are designed. A lot of us wouldn't be able to fathom doing that to a Caucasian person or any other nationality for that point. But y'all are okay with it and y'all take up for it. That's why y'all so mad and hostile right now in the comment section. I feel that you're being belligerent, and I would really hope that you would calm down and get some psychiatric evaluation, some psychological help from a counselor. That's what I really hope you all will do. So don't get mad at me, get mad at the truth, get mad at your ancestors, get mad at your people, and go figure it out. Simple as that. Simple as that. Hate is not going to solve anything, and y'all are coming from a very hateful perspective. Yeah, they real triggered. I know y'all triggered. I know y'all mad. Stay mad. I don't care. Stay mad. Stay mad. Stay mad. Stay mad. Stay mad. Stay mad. Y'all not going to change anything over here. Stay exactly how you are. Mad. In the comment section. In the comment section. Nobody said they had a victim mentality. You sound stupid. Okay? Act this way and talk in public. I am talking on a public platform, idiot. Why don't you go in public and go talk to a man? See if you can address a man. A lot of y'all can't even do that. A lot of y'all can't address a real man. Oh, why don't you go address a man? You can't do that. I doubt you could. And a lot of these people, like I said, because of the inferiority complex, they come to a melanated female's platform and then they want to wreak havoc. Like, I don't care. I could care less. Y'all stay mad. Stay mad. And stay calling each other names in the comment section, because a lot of y'all comments are not getting read either. Okay? So it is what it is. It's all good over here. Thank y'all for the new subscriptions. Thank y'all for the likes. Thank you to my moderators. Thank you, Fox Galaxy. Thank you to all the supporters of Brown Girls Are Beautiful. Stay winning. Continue to walk in your divinity. Always, always, always look past the narrative that these savages have indoctrinated upon our people. Please continue to do your own research. Never listen to their narrative, because we know that his story is not our history. This is only the narrative they wish to pursue, because they have to try to keep up their their inferiority complex, which they call supremacy, which we know if you're supreme, you wouldn't have to try to oppress other people. You wouldn't be going off in the comment section. You wouldn't even pay attention to me because you wouldn't even be over here. But apparently we're this important in their lives. Apparently our energy gives them life, right? Because this planet would be so boring without us. And if y'all, like I said, if y'all didn't play in the NFL, the NBA, a lot of these sports teams would not even be surviving until this day. Because nobody will watch. It will be boring. So we bring a lot of character. We bring a lot of life to this planet. Don't let anybody tell you any different. This is why they're always stealing from you, from your spiritual practices, if they're remixing it and giving it back to you from this land that you used to walk abundantly before they came over here. Basically taking it over with terror and political warfare and nuclear wars and all these bombs they keep dropping on one another. I mean, it's completely ridiculous, you all. I don't know why they're so upset and mad since they're supposed to be the highest on the totem pole, and they keep getting into these religious debates with one another, these political debates with one another, and they want us, to give them our energy, and we're just talking amongst ourselves, and they're giving us their energy. Now, how ironic is that? So that lets you know who is supreme. That lets you know who is divine. So, ladies, continue to walk in your divinity. Continue to sit on the throne, and don't let any one of these savages knock you down and knock you off of it, okay? Let them stay mad. Let them stay exactly where they are, mad. Okay, because if we really want to dig deeper into history, we could go there, and they can't handle the truth, right? You want to hear the truth? You can't handle the truth. They can't handle the truth, y'all. Never could they ever. All right. But anyway, y'all, my time is going to be up at this point. I am going to depart because I have better things to do than give these idiots my attention. So I want to just say thank you to all the channel members, all the subscribers, all the brown girls out here. Continue to stay winning. Continue to walk in your divinity despite these savages. All my melanated guys, melanated angelic warriors, my ultimate warriors out there. This is a spiritual warfare. Remember that. This is also a spiritual warfare, an attack on the divine. So you really have to have tunnel vision. You really have to keep your attention focused on yourself, your inner self, and your immediate family at this point in time. And, come together in unity. They don't like it when we unify. They don't like it when we uplift one another. They don't like it when we tell each other the truth. You see how triggered they are. You see how they keep coming over here getting mad. Ignore them. Pay them what they're worth. Nothing. Okay, simple as that. We're worth everything, because if we weren't worth something, they wouldn't always be imposing themselves into our lives. They wouldn't be all over in Africa trying to live in South Africa right now. They wouldn't be all over in Australia killing off the Tasmanians. There's a real group of people called the Tasmanians that they killed off over in Australia. They were brown-skinned people, and this is where you get the cartoon character, the Tasmanian devil, because they're always trying to poke fun at what they've done. They think it's funny, but there is a higher power that is watching all of this. So with their antics and with their savagery, they're going to pay for it. And I think we're kind of seeing some of that unfold right now. And they're very mad and triggered, and they want to incite a race war and a rage bait, right? And we're just not giving them what they want, and they're mad. So a lot of other people are going through this on their platforms, you all. So just, be very diligent, about that as well. Understand their hostility is not with you. It is within them. It is amongst their lineage, their ancestors, and what they've done to this country, to this land, and to these native people. All right, y'all, signing out. You take care and stay blessed. And remember, stop being so hateful, y'all. Love conquers all, okay? Why are y'all so mad? Get over it, okay? Stay in love and light, y'all. I'll talk to y'all later. All right, signing out.